Let me tell you something straight. Respect is not something you demand, it's something you command. And if she doesn't respect you, love, loyalty, and even attraction will eventually fade away. The hard truth: most men lose a woman's respect not because of what they don't have, but because of the mistakes they keep repeating without even realizing it. Today, I'm going to expose the three biggest things you're doing right now that are silently destroying her respect for you. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is being too available. At first glance, it might look like love, care, and attention. You're always there when she calls, you reply instantly to every text. You adjust your schedule whenever she needs you, and you cancel your own plans to accommodate hers. You convince yourself that this is how a good partner behaves. You believe that by showing her unlimited availability, you're proving your devotion. But in reality, you're teaching her that your time has no value, your priorities don't matter, and your world revolves entirely around her. And the harsh truth is this: respect cannot grow in an environment where a man doesn't respect his own time. A woman doesn't consciously think he's too available, so I don't respect him. It's deeper than that. Respect is tied to human psychology. People value what is rare, what is earned, what is not easily accessible. If she knows you will always answer her call on the first ring, always cancel your gym session if she feels bored, always give her attention the moment she asks for it, then your presence stops feeling special. It becomes ordinary. And when something becomes ordinary, it loses its value in the human mind. That's why when you first meet a woman and you have your own life, your own passions, your own mystery, she's drawn to you. But as soon as you start giving up everything to be constantly available, the attraction begins to fade. Think about this. The busiest people in the world, leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, command the most respect. Why? Because their time is scarce, their focus is disciplined, and their availability is limited. People have to earn their attention. That scarcity is what makes their presence powerful. Now compare that to the man who is always just one text away, who rearranges his entire life in the name of love. He may think he's winning her heart, but subconsciously he's lowering his value. A woman cannot respect a man who doesn't value himself, and nothing screams low value more than being available 24/7 with no boundaries. Being too available also sends another silent message. It shows that you have nothing better to do. It signals to her that you don't have a bigger mission, a bigger purpose, or anything that challenges and fulfills you outside of her. And whether she admits it or not, no woman wants to be with a man whose entire identity is built around her. It feels suffocating, it feels heavy, it feels needy, because what she truly respects is a man who is rooted in his own mission, who can give her love and attention without losing himself in the process. A man who has time for her, but not all of his time. And here's the paradox: when you stop being overly available, when you actually prioritize your goals, your fitness, your career, your friendships, your growth, she begins to respect you more. She sees you as someone who has direction, someone she cannot fully control, someone she must continuously earn. That's what keeps her interested. That's what keeps her respect alive. But when you're too available, she doesn't have to earn anything. And the things we don't earn, we don't value. Most men fear that if they reduce their availability, they'll lose her. But the reality is the opposite. By being too available, you're already losing her respect, slowly but surely. A woman is not attracted to a man who makes her the center of his universe. She's attracted to a man who makes her part of his universe, a universe that is already rich, fulfilling, and purposeful without her. Availability without boundaries is not love. It's self-abandonment disguised as care. And the longer you operate in that mindset, the faster her respect for you erodes. The fastest way to lose a woman's respect is to tolerate her disrespect. It doesn't matter how much you love her, how much you want to keep the peace, or how badly you fear losing her. every single time you let a comment slide, every time you accept behavior that cuts at your dignity, every time you swallow your words instead of addressing what's wrong, you are training her that it's okay to treat you that way. Disrespect never stops on its own. It grows, it multiplies, and it becomes the new standard if you don't stop it at the very beginning. It often starts small. Maybe it's a sarcastic joke at your expense in front of friends. Maybe it's dismissing your opinion in a conversation. Maybe it's rolling her eyes when you talk about your goals. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You let it go because you don't want conflict. You want to be seen as the understanding man, the one who doesn't overreact. But here's the hard truth: what you ignore, you accept. And what you accept, you will eventually become. When a woman sees that you don't value your own voice enough to defend it, she will unconsciously stop valuing it too. Respect dies the moment you allow yourself to be treated in a way that goes against your standards. Many men are terrified of confrontation. They think setting boundaries will push her away, that if they speak up, she'll get angry, maybe even leave. So they bite their tongue, hoping that if they stay calm, if they keep showing love, she will eventually appreciate it and change. But relationships don't work like that. A woman doesn't respect a man who is afraid of her reactions. She respects the man who calmly but firmly says, "That's not acceptable," and holds his ground regardless of her mood. Respect is not about being agreeable. It's about having the strength to stand up for yourself, even in the face of discomfort. You have to understand something very clearly. Women test men, sometimes without even realizing it. When she throws a disrespectful comment, when she pushes a boundary, when she acts out of line, it's not always because she wants to destroy the relationship. Sometimes she's unconsciously testing your strength, your backbone, your sense of self. She's trying to see, is this man solid or can I walk over him? And every time you let it slide, you're answering that question. You're telling her, yes, you can walk over me. And once that image of you is formed, it's almost impossible to undo. What most men don't realize is that tolerating disrespect doesn't make her love you more. It makes her lose attraction for you. Love without respect is fragile and temporary. She may still stay with you out of comfort, but deep inside, she will stop admiring you. And when admiration fades, so does desire. A woman cannot be truly attracted to a man she doesn't respect. She might tolerate him, but she won't look up to him. She won't see him as the strong, dependable, grounded man she desires at her core. The mistake men make is believing that avoiding conflict keeps the relationship safe. In reality, avoiding conflict kills it faster, because a relationship without respect is nothing more than a performance, two people pretending while the foundation slowly rots. A man who doesn't set boundaries, who doesn't call out disrespect, who doesn't demand to be treated with dignity, he's not protecting the relationship, he's destroying it with silence. And silence in the face of disrespect is the loudest statement you can make about your own worth. When you choose to tolerate disrespect, you're not being kind, you're being weak. And weakness never earns respect. It only breeds resentment. Resentment in you because you feel unappreciated, and resentment in her because she can't admire the man who refuses to protect his own dignity. That's why the strongest relationships are built on clear boundaries, on men who are not afraid to say, no, that doesn't fly with me. Because a woman may argue, she may resist, she may even get angry in the moment, but deep down, she will respect you more for it. There is nothing that kills a woman's respect faster than a man without purpose. A man who wakes up each day with no direction, no vision, no fire burning inside him is a man who slowly becomes invisible in her eyes. You see, purpose is not just about having a career or making money. It's about knowing why you exist, what you stand for, and where you're going. A woman can feel the difference between a man who is driven by something bigger than her and a man who is drifting aimlessly, waiting for her to fill the void. And the reality is brutal. When a man revolves his entire identity around a woman, she will never truly respect him because deep down, she doesn't want to be the center of his life. She wants to be a part of his world, not the reason it spins. When you live without purpose, everything about your energy shifts. You become passive, reactive, and dependent. You stop leading and you start following. You wait for her approval to make decisions. You rely on her moods to determine your confidence. You hand over the steering wheel of your life, and without realizing it, you've made her the captain of a ship she never wanted to control. That's when women start to lose attraction because at her core, a woman desires a man she can look up to, a man who inspires her, a man who pulls her into his mission rather than sinking into hers. Without purpose, you're just a passenger, and passengers are forgettable. Purpose gives a man a sense of power, a presence that cannot be faked. Think about the men you admire: leaders, creators, visionaries, athletes, entrepreneurs. What makes them magnetic? It's not just their looks, their money, or their charm. It's that they're consumed by something bigger than themselves. Their energy commands attention because they know exactly where they're going. And when a woman feels that energy, she can't help but respect it because it's rare. A man on a mission is unpredictable, disciplined, and hard to control. And that unpredictability keeps her intrigued. But a man with no purpose is easy to figure out. He becomes routine, predictable, and boring. And boredom is the graveyard of respect. Men who live without purpose often compensate in unhealthy ways. Some drown themselves in relationships, making the woman their sole focus. Others waste their time with distractions, scrolling endlessly, partying excessively, chasing validation. They feel restless, but they don't realize the root of that restlessness is the absence of a bigger mission. And here's the cruel truth: a woman can sense that emptiness. She may not be able to explain it in words, but she feels it when she looks at you, when she watches the way you spend your time, when she sees that you are not moving toward anything meaningful. The moment she feels like she's with a man who lacks direction, her respect for him begins to fade. Living with purpose doesn't mean you have every detail figured out. It doesn't mean you must be a millionaire or a world-class achiever. What it does mean is that you wake up every day with something to chase, something that stretches you, something that builds you into more than you were yesterday. It means you have goals and you protect the time to pursue them. It means you don't drop everything for her every demand because your life has structure and your mission comes first. And ironically, when you do that, she begins to value you more. She sees you as a man of strength, a man who cannot be easily swayed, a man she has to earn time with rather than one who hands it out carelessly. A woman may say she wants all your attention, but deep down, she craves a man who cannot give it all to her because he is building something bigger. She respects the man who makes her a priority, but not his only priority. When she sees that your life is anchored in purpose, she realizes that she cannot be the center of your world. And that's exactly what makes her want to stay in it, because respect is not built when you orbit around her. It's built when she orbits around the force of your vision, your goals, your destiny. And without that force, without that sense of direction, no amount of love, affection, or devotion will make her see you as the man she truly desires. One of the most silent killers of respect in a relationship is when a man seeks constant validation from a woman. At first, it may seem harmless. You want to know if she's happy, if she approves of you, if you're doing enough to keep her satisfied. You look for her reassurance through her words, her attention, her body language. And when she doesn't give it, you start to panic. But what feels like care on the surface is actually dependence underneath. And dependence in the eyes of a woman translates into weakness. Because the moment you rely on her to confirm your worth, you've already shown her that you don't believe in it yourself. When a man is always asking for reassurance, it drains the relationship of its polarity. Instead of being the grounded, centered presence she looks up to, you become like a child tugging at her sleeve, waiting for approval. You begin to measure yourself by her moods. If she's warm and affectionate, you feel confident. If she's distant or distracted, you spiral into insecurity. That roller coaster not only exhausts you, but also suffocates her. A woman cannot respect a man who makes her responsible for his sense of worth. She may comfort you for a while. She may reassure you in the beginning, but over time, that constant need becomes unattractive. Respect isn't given to the man who begs for it. It's given to the man who carries it naturally. The truth is, women don't want to be your validation system. They want to admire you without having to constantly hold you up. Validation seeking places an invisible burden on her shoulders. It forces her into the role of a mother, constantly soothing and encouraging instead of the role of a partner who looks up to you. And once she feels like your mother instead of your woman, the respect and attraction she had for you begins to fade. Because deep down, she wants to feel your strength, not your dependency. She wants to feel that you're steady enough to stand tall even when she pulls away. This constant need for validation often comes from fear, fear of losing her, fear of not being enough, fear of rejection. But ironically, it's that very fear that pushes her away. When you chase her validation, you give her all the power. You make her the authority on your worth. And no woman truly respects a man who doesn't own his own value. Respect is commanded by confidence, not requested by questions like, "Do you still love me?" Or "Are you happy with me?" Or "Am I good enough for you?" Because every time you ask those questions, you reveal uncertainty. And uncertainty is the opposite of what draws a woman in. The men who hold a woman's respect are not the ones who beg for it. They're the ones who don't need it. They don't ask if they're enough. They already know they are. They don't wait for approval, they act with conviction. They don't adjust their self-image based on her reactions. They remain consistent regardless of her emotional swings. And that consistency is what makes a woman respect them even more. Because when she sees that she cannot shake your confidence, she subconsciously admires you. She feels safer around you. She feels more drawn to you. A woman will test you with silence, with criticism, with distance, just to see if you'll fold. If you crumble and start begging for reassurance, you fail the test. But if you remain centered, if you continue walking in your purpose, if you don't let her approval define your masculinity, you pass the test without even trying. Seeking validation is a sign that you don't trust yourself, that you don't value yourself, and that you don't believe you're worthy without her stamp of approval. But when you carry yourself with the belief that you are already enough with or without her validation, she has no choice but to respect you, because respect is not something you ask for, it's something you embody. Nothing destroys a woman's respect for a man faster than complacency. When you stop growing, when you stop pushing yourself, when you decide that who you are today is good enough forever, you slowly start killing the very attraction and admiration she once felt for you. Because deep down, women are drawn to progress. They are drawn to men who evolve, who refuse to settle, who wake up every day with the hunger to become better than they were yesterday. Neglecting self-improvement isn't just about failing to impress her, it's about failing yourself. And when a man gives up on his own growth, he unconsciously teaches everyone around him, including his woman, that he no longer values becoming the best version of himself. At the beginning of a relationship, many men put in effort. They dress well, they take care of their health, they pursue goals, and they give their best. But over time, They get comfortable. They stop working on their fitness. They stop challenging themselves mentally. They stop pursuing new opportunities and they start coasting. And while they may believe that comfort is a sign of love and security, what the woman sees is decline. She sees that the man who once inspired her is slowly losing his edge. She sees that the fire that made him different from the rest is now fading away, and respect cannot survive in stagnation. Self improvement is not just about money or looks. It's about the total package of who you are becoming. It's your physical health, your emotional maturity, your mindset, your discipline, your skills, your leadership, your ability to handle life's challenges. When you ignore these areas, when you allow laziness or fear to dictate your actions, you shrink. And when you shrink, so does the way she sees you. A man who refuses to grow eventually becomes predictable, uninspiring, and easy to overlook. And the harsh truth is that a woman will never deeply admire a man who has stopped challenging himself to reach higher. Think about how attraction works in the beginning. It's not just about how you look or how you talk. It's about potential. It's about the sense that you are moving somewhere, that you are hungry for life, that you are not content with mediocrity. That energy is magnetic. But when you stop chasing growth, when you settle into routine and stop investing in yourself, you lose that magnetism. And without it, respect erodes because a woman doesn't want to feel like she has outgrown you. She doesn't want to feel like she's evolving while you're staying the same. That gap creates tension, and tension eventually breaks admiration. Neglecting self improvement also signals weakness to her subconscious. It tells her that you don't believe you're capable of more, that you've surrendered to your limitations. And no woman truly respects a man who doesn't respect his own potential. She may stay with you for comfort, for stability, or out of routine, but deep inside, she will not look up to you the same way she once did. And when admiration is gone, attraction is not far behind. Respect thrives in the presence of progress, and progress is only possible when you refuse to neglect your growth. Every man has areas he can improve: his body, his finances, his mindset, his leadership, his emotional strength, his communication skills. The tragedy is not that men have flaws. The tragedy is that so many men stop working on them. They settle into the belief that who they are is enough, without realizing that the very thing that attracted her in the first place was their willingness to push forward. A man who invests in himself never loses his edge because his growth never stops. And that continual evolution is what keeps her respect alive. One of the most dangerous mistakes men make in relationships is putting a woman above themselves. On the surface, it may look like love, devotion, or sacrifice. You convince yourself that she deserves everything, that her happiness must always come before your own, that her needs, her desires, and her moods should dictate the flow of the relationship. You tell yourself this is what a good man does. He puts his woman first. But the reality is far darker. The moment you place her above yourself, you shift the balance of the relationship in a way that guarantees she will never truly respect you. Because respect is not given to the man who makes himself smaller to elevate someone else. It's given to the man who stands tall enough that she naturally wants to rise beside him. When you put her above yourself, you begin to lose your sense of identity. Your dreams take a back seat. Your personal boundaries dissolve. Your values get compromised in the name of keeping her happy. You start living in reaction to her instead of leading from within yourself. At first, she might appreciate the attention. She may enjoy the feeling of being prioritized. But as time goes on, she starts to sense the imbalance. Deep inside, she doesn't want to be worshipped. She wants to be inspired. She doesn't want to be the center of your universe. She wants to be part of a universe that already has gravity, strength, and direction without her. When you put her above yourself, you unintentionally suffocate her respect for you because you've made her role bigger than it was ever meant to be. Respect requires polarity. There must be a sense of balance where the man leads with strength and the woman feels safe to follow that leadership. But when you put her on a pedestal, you flip that polarity. You make her the leader and yourself the follower. And while she might accept that role for a while, eventually it weighs on her. She doesn't want the pressure of guiding the relationship. She doesn't want the responsibility of steering both your lives. She wants to feel your strength, your conviction, your direction. And when you hand that over to her by placing her above yourself, you take away the very thing that allows her to admire you. The irony is that many men put women above themselves out of fear of losing her, fear of disappointing her, fear of not being enough. But that fear is what makes them act in ways that ensure exactly what they're trying to avoid. When you sacrifice your self respect to keep her, she begins to see you as replaceable because self abandonment is not attractive, it's weak, and weakness never earns lasting admiration. A woman may say she wants all your attention, all your sacrifice, all your devotion. But the truth is, what she really respects is balance. She respects the man who can love her deeply while still honoring himself, the man who can give without losing his own identity, the man who can prioritize her without putting her above his purpose, his principles, or his dignity. Putting her above yourself also creates resentment, both in you and in her. In you, because eventually you realize that you've given up your own needs, dreams, and happiness, and it leaves you feeling drained and unfulfilled. In her, because she begins to feel the weight of being the center of your world, something she never asked for and doesn't truly want. She wanted a partner, not a worshiper. She wanted a man, not a servant. She wanted to walk beside you, not above you. When you put her above yourself, you strip the relationship of its balance, and without balance, respect cannot survive. True respect comes when a woman sees that you value yourself enough to never abandon who you are for anyone, not even for her. She respects you when you can love her fully without sacrificing your self-worth. She respects you when she realizes you are capable of walking away if necessary, that your life has meaning and direction beyond the relationship. Because no matter how much love she feels, she will never admire the man who bows to her pedestal. She will admire the man who stays grounded in himself, who invites her to rise with him, but never allows her to become his entire reason for being.